Welcome to MAT 2LB booklet number 3, Decimals, Percent, and Tax, lesson number 1, Adding Decimals. So we haven't really spent a lot of time going over adding in this course. We've made a bit of an assumption that you've done a fair bit of adding over the course of your math career up until now. Adding decimals is no different than adding whole numbers, assuming you do one critical thing, which is lining up the decimal place so that all of the proper place values are lined up before you start adding. So that's really the big message that we're going to get in this lesson. Let's start with an example. On 3 days of their vacation, the Martin family drove 136.7 kilometers, 151 kilometers, and 145.8 kilometers through the Rocky Mountains. How many kilometers did they drive in total? Okay, so they're asking us to add up these three different driving amounts. First thing that we're going to do is line up the decimal places so that all of the place values are properly aligned, so that ones are over ones, tens are over tens, hundreds are over hundreds, and tenths are over tenths. If we are missing a zero, so for example, we have 151 kilometers right here, there's no decimal place that comes after it that we can see. It's there, we just don't usually bother to write decimal zero. But in this case, because we're called upon to line up the decimal places, we're going to add it. So let's have a look. I've already done this for you in your note. You have 136.7, 151.0, and 145.8. So now these have all been lined up, and I added in that decimal zero where I needed to make sure all of my place values are lined up properly. Step number 2, add as with whole numbers, right column to left. So we are going to start as far right as we can, and those are the first three values that we are going to add vertically. So there is our line. Addition is what we're doing, so let's get rid of that highlighter and let's do some addition. 7 plus 0 plus 8 gives us 15, so there is our 5, and there is our carried 1 from our 15. Next, we're going to move on and add up the numbers in the ones column, so we're heading our way left. So we have the 1 that we carried over, so that is 1 plus 6 gives us 7, another 1 gives us 8, and 8 and 5 is 13. So there is our 3, and we have another 1 to carry over into the next column. Now we are going to add the tens column. Don't forget that 1 at the top, so we have 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus another 4 is 13. So we are carrying yet another 1. And now we are adding all of the digits in the hundreds column. So we have that 1 at the top. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those. So we have 433.5 kilometers. That is as far as the Martin family has driven. So there's a little spot for it. Let's write our answer on the line. 433.5 and units, because we want to know that it's kilometers and not centimeters or meters. And there it is. The second example, example 2, starts with a little less detail, but it still tells us add 3.2, 0.567, and 4.79 to get their sum. So the first step, as in the first example, we're going to line up all the decimal places, making sure that we fill in zeros as necessary where we need to. So let's start that off to the right. We have 3.2. There's 3. Whoops. Let's jump over here. We have 3 decimal 2, so that's our first piece. Then 0 decimal 5, 6, 7, and last but not least 4 decimal 7, 9. So these are the numbers that we are going to be adding together. And you notice how there's some spaces, right? We have some spaces here, here, and here. 3.2 doesn't have a digit already in the hundredths or thousandths place value. So our job at this point is to fill those in with zeros. And I'm going to do those in red so we remember that we've filled them in. So we've filled in a 0 here in the hundredths and thousandths. And same thing with 4.79 we're going to add a 0 in the thousandth. So now basically we have all of our place values from thousandths up to ones all filled in. So that's step number 1. Step 2, add as with whole numbers, right column to left. So let's get that line underneath our 3 numbers. We're going to be adding, and let's start on the rightmost column. So we will be adding these up. 0 plus 7 plus 0 is going to give us 7, nothing to carry. We head over to the next column. That's going to be hundredths. I'll just do a quick highlight through that. That's what we're going to be adding up now. We have 0 plus 6 plus 9 is going to give us 15. So there's our 5. We're going to carry our 1. There's the 1. Now we are going to be adding the tenths column. So we have that 1 at the top, plus 2 is 3, 3 and 5 is 8, 8 and 7 is 15. There's our 5, there's our decimal, and we are going to carry another 1 over into the ones column. So now we're adding that last column, which are the ones. We have the 1 that we carried, plus our 3 is 4, and another 4 is going to give us 8. So there is our 8, and that is our total. 8.557. So this is how you do vertical addition with decimals. We've got a couple more examples here for you to try. So what I'd like you to do at this point is I'll read A with you. The Martins continued their trip for 3 more days, traveling 123 kilometers, 176.3 kilometers, and 151.5 kilometers in the next 3 days. How far did they travel in total for those 3 days? So what I'd like you to do is hit pause here, try to set this one up and do this addition on your own. When you're all done, come on back. We'll see how you did. Okay, let's catch up with the Martins. So the Martins traveled 123 kilometers. Let's start by writing that one down. And we have 176.3 kilometers. You'll notice that although it wasn't written in the question, 123 has a decimal right there. And the last amount was 151.5. So our first step from up above tells us we have to fill in any missing place values with zeros. So we're missing a 0 right here. Hopefully you've done that too. And now we're going to add these up to see how far the Martins continued to travel. So now we're going to be adding. We're going to start with the rightmost column, tenths. We have 0 plus 3 plus 5 gives us 8. There's our decimal. We move to the ones column. 3 and 6 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So there's the 0 of our 10. And there is the carried 1 over into the tens place value. Now we're going to add the tens column. So we have that 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 7 is 10, plus 5 is 15. And we are going to carry that 1 over to the hundreds place value. And that's the column we're going to add last. So we have that 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 450.8 kilometers. So for a word problem like this, we need to respond not only with a number, but also with a brief statement. So we would say, therefore, the Martins traveled and I don't remember how far it was, 450.8 kilometers. So for word problems that involve sentences, we're going to end it up with a sentence as well to sort of sum it up. All right, at this point, hopefully you did well on that one. Let's try B. I want you to try B on your own. When you're all done, come on back. We'll see how you did. Okay, let's have a look at B. We have 3 more numbers to add, 6.4, 10.91, and 0.56. Let's start by writing it out. 6.4, 10.91, and 0.56. So as before, our first step is to fill in any missing place values with zeros. There it is. We add our line, plus, and then we start at the right. So we have 0 plus 1 plus 6 is 7, 4 and 9 is 13, plus 5 is 18, and we're going to carry that 1. 1 and 6 is 7, and 1 plus nothing else is going to be 1. So our answer is 17.87. Hopefully that one was done correctly. Let's try the last one. Again, you can try this one on your own. Hit pause here, give it a try. When you're all done, come on back, we'll see how you did. Okay, you're back. Let's get this last one underway. We are going to start with 13, and we are going to add 2.565, and last but not least, 0.14. So as before, we're going to fill in all of the zeros. There's a 0 there. There is a whole bunch of zeros necessary here after the 13, since there were none there at all. So let's add our line. We're going to be adding, and let's start with the rightmost column. It will give us 0 plus 5 plus 0 is 5. 0 plus 6 plus 4 is going to be 10. We are going to carry that 1 to the 10th column. From here, we are going to add 1 and 5 is 6, and another 1 is 7. There's our decimal. 3 plus 2 is 5, and 1 gives us 15.705. So that is the end of our first lesson. Now it's time for you to head off and try the worksheet. If you're not 100% sure you've got it down, by all means, head back and watch portions of the video again. But if you're feeling good, go to the worksheet, and I will see you in lesson number 2.